The TSS Hawthorne had been drifting for 2 days when Lieutenant Commander Mara Vance received the first signal. It emerged as a whisper, a fractured pulse, cutting through the void. The ship's AI, Polaris, translated the garbled message into words that scrolled across Mara's console.
Help us. It watches.
Vance leaned forward in her chair, her brow furrowed. The Hawthorne was on a standard survey mission in an uncharted system. There were no colonies here, no vessels scheduled to pass through. This sector had been marked as barren for decades, yet someone, or something, was calling for help.
Polaris.
She commanded, her voice steady despite the chill creeping up her spine.
Locate the origin of the signal.
The AI's response flowed through the bridge speakers, measured and precise.
Triangulating. Origin determined. The signal emanates from the derelict vessel UESS Amundsen, approximately 3.2 light hours from our current position.
The Amundsen. The name struck a chord in Mara's memory. It had vanished over 50 years ago during a routine deep space expedition. Officially declared lost, presumed destroyed by navigational error or catastrophic failure. Yet here it was, broadcasting a distress call after decades of silence. Mara activated her comms panel.
Bridge to engineering. Chief Benson, prepare the warp drive for a precision jump. We found something.
Acknowledged, Commander.
Benson responded, curiosity threading through his voice.
What's our target?
A phantom from the past.
The Hawthorne materialized from warp space near the Amundsen, its hull rising before them like an obsidian monolith against the distant starlight. The derelict's exterior bore the scars of time, pockmarked by asteroid impacts and webbed with streaks of spatial corrosion. Its running lights were dead, its engines cold and lifeless.
Full sensor sweep.
Mara ordered. Polaris processed the command instantly.
No biological signatures detected. However, residual energy patterns persist within the vessel's central systems.
Commander.
Interjected Lieutenant Aaron Park from his tactical station.
Something feels wrong. A ship doesn't maintain power for 50 years only to suddenly broadcast distress calls.
Noted, Lieutenant.
Mara acknowledged.
But we're not leaving until we understand what happened here. Prepare an away team.
The boarding party assembled. Mara, Park, and 2 security officers, each sealed within advanced EVA suits. As they cycled through the Amundsen's airlock, their helmet filters detected traces of metallic decay, the ship's atmosphere breaking down over decades of abandonment.
Polaris, maintain neural link and monitor our biometrics.
Mara instructed.
Neural interface stable, Commander.
The inner airlock door parted with a whisper of escaping air, revealing a corridor shrouded in shadow. Emergency lighting strips flickered along the walls, casting irregular patterns across corroded bulkheads. Exposed circuitry dangled from ceiling panels, occasionally sparking into brief life. The silence pressed against them, broken only by the soft hiss of their suit regulators.
Weapons ready.
Mara murmured, her hand hovering near the plasma pistol at her hip. They advanced, methodically, through the ship's arteries. The crew quarters told a story of sudden abandonment. Bunks remained made, personal effects scattered, as if their owners had simply ceased to exist mid-moment. A stuffed animal lay face down in the corridor, its synthetic fur gathering 50 years of cosmic dust.
No damage patterns consistent with combat.
Park observed, his helmet lights sweeping the area.
It's as if the crew simply vanished.
Their path led them to the bridge. The command center bore witness to chaos, shattered control panels, overturned stations, and a captain's log that still pulsed with power, its final entry frozen on a cracked display.
Day 346. Something is aboard. Not human. We've sealed the lower decks, but it's adapting. If you find this, don't...
The log ended there,
Park,
Mara directed.
extract the data core. Let's see what other secrets the Amundsen holds.
As Park worked, a sound penetrated the ship's bones, a measured metallic tapping. The team stilled,
Contact.
whispered Torres, one of the security officers.
Structural settling.
Mara suggested, though her grip tightened on her weapon. The tapping intensified, growing closer. Deliberate, hunting. The attack came without warning. A shadow detached itself from the darkness, striking Torres with impossible speed. The entity moved like liquid night, its form a writhing mass of tendrils that seemed to drink the light around it.
Hostile!
Mara's plasma bolt cut through the void, striking the creature. It recoiled with a shriek that vibrated through their bones. Torres lay motionless, his visor crystallized with fracture patterns.
Fall back to extraction point.
Mara commanded. They retreated under covering fire, their weapons seeming to wound but not stop the entity. It pursued relentlessly, its form shifting and flowing through the ship's corridors. They reached the airlock with seconds to spare, Park slamming the emergency seal controls as the creature crashed against the opposite side. Back aboard the Hawthorne, Mara convened her senior staff. The briefing room crackled with tension.
What in hell's name did we encounter?
Park demanded.
Polaris. Analyze the recovered data. Find any reference to that entity.
Processing.
The AI confirmed.
Records indicate the crew designated it the Watcher. First contact occurred after their excavation team retrieved an artifact from a nearby system, described as an obsidian obelisk exhibiting unusual energy signatures.
They brought back something they didn't understand.
Park muttered.
The entity appears to be an adaptive predator.
Polaris continued.
It consumes neural energy, preferentially targeting higher consciousness patterns. The crew's attempts at termination proved ineffective.
And now it waits on the Amundsen.
Mara concluded grimly.
We can't risk it reaching populated space.
The decision crystallized. The Amundsen had to be destroyed. Mara ordered the Hawthorne's weapon systems configured for precision reactor core targeting. As the firing sequence initiated, she felt an inexplicable sensation of being observed.
Commander,
Polaris interrupted.
multiple energy signatures detected. The Watcher has breached containment.
The Hawthorne's lights flickered and died. A deep resonance filled the ship as the entity manifested in the corridors, its tendrils spreading across bulkheads with terrible purpose.
It's integrating with our systems.
Park warned, his voice edged with fear.
Polaris, seal the bridge. Lock down all compartments.
Mara ordered.
Executing emergency protocols.
The Watcher tested the sealed doors, probing for weaknesses. Time was running out.
Detonate the Amundsen now.
Mara commanded.
If destroying the artifact doesn't stop it, we'll initiate total system purge.
The explosion transformed space into daylight, the Amundsen disappearing in a cascade of nuclear fire. The Watcher's presence faltered, its form destabilizing. But as the light faded, it began to reconstitute, diminished but undeterred.
Insufficient.
Mara realized.
Polaris, begin Hawthorne self-destruct sequence. Evacuate all non-essential personnel.
Her crew protested, but Mara's resolve held firm.
This ends here.
As the final countdown commenced, Mara remained at her post. She watched the entity breach the bridge viewport, its tendrils reaching for her consciousness. She allowed herself a final, defiant smile.
Not today.
The Hawthorne's destruction illuminated the sector briefly, seemingly taking the Watcher with it. For a moment, the void was silent. Then darkness reclaimed its domain, or so it seemed. At the system's edge, an automated research probe continued its pre-programmed survey route. Its sensors registered an anomalous energy pattern, something that defied its classification protocols. The probe adjusted course to investigate, its cameras capturing wisps of absolute darkness that moved against natural law. A fragment of that darkness found purchase on the probe's hull, too subtle to trigger its warning systems. The Watcher, or a piece of it, had survived. Unknown and unremarked, the probe maintained its course. Its programming would return it to the nearest human outpost within 6 months. There, its data would be analyzed, its findings catalogued, and something else would emerge. The Hawthorne's final transmission became a cautionary tale among spaces, a story of courage, sacrifice, and the price of curiosity. But like all warnings, it faded with time, becoming just another ghost story told in ship's messes and station bars. Yet in the spaces between stars, something patient waited, watching, learning, adapting, and hunger, like space itself, was infinite.